Good afternoon. Welcome to the special meeting of the Jefferson County Water Advisory Committee. My name is Mary Sell. I'm calling the meeting to order. I'm going to announce the determination of members' presence and existence of quorum. Mary Sell, Daniel Hayes, Margaret Liskey, Will Smith, Travis Markley, and on Zoom, we have Elizabeth Reardon and Vice President, our liaison, Commissioner Kara Keys.
Hello.
Thank you all for joining and rearranging your schedule for in advance of the busy fair week. We will start with the public comment period. We have someone, a gentleman who's signed up for comment. If you will come, please announce yourself.
There we go. All right. Good afternoon, members. My name is Jacob Light, and I represent Jefferson County Foundation. We are here today to request that the board not address agenda items 5.1 and 5.2 under old business. These agenda items do not appear to comply with the Open Meetings Act. On the West Virginia Ethics Commission webpage for the Open Meetings Act, under How Specific Must Agenda Item Be, it says agendas must give reasonable notice to the public of what issues will be discussed. In this case, the agenda item refers to a technical question that is not in the agenda. The technical questions are not posted with the agenda. It is unreasonable to think that every member of the public would know where to find a copy of these technical questions. Therefore, the agenda does not provide reasonable notice to the public of what issues will be discussed. For this reason, we are requesting these two agenda items not be taken up in this meeting and not be taken up until they are properly noticed at a future meeting. Second, we found it frustrating that the recent presentation by Chairwoman Sell at the County Commission meeting was so different than the submitted materials and what was discussed in the Water Advisory Committee meetings. We urge you have a broader representation at future presentations and ensure that the agreed upon language is followed. Most concerning in the presentation was the assertion by Chairwoman Sell and the agreement by Commissioner Stolber that once a water study was done, it would be determined where groundwater extraction could occur. This is not the study that the public has been advocating for, and it is not what we need. We do not need an expensive study to develop a predictive model. This would only serve to support groundwater extraction. The public is firmly against groundwater extraction. Our current zoning ordinance prohibits groundwater extraction, and the public wants it to stay that way. The kind of groundwater study we are advocating for is a groundwater availability study like the ones that were done in the 70s and the 80s, not study to develop a predictive model. The groundwater availability study should be a fraction of the cost and far more useful for protecting the groundwater. Please support this type of study. Thank you for the time to speak.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? I have a motion to close public comment. And I have a second. All those in favor? Public comment is closed. Madam Secretary, we talked to you about the review and approval of minutes. I don't believe we have minutes for this meeting, and we have a few that we should note we are going to review and approve.
I'm very much unprepared today.
Well, I understand you. Well, actually, I want to note that I mentioned at the county commission meeting that you were doing the yeoman's work, and we appreciate it. And we have one unsigned and a couple months to review, which we will circulate for the next meeting. Okay. Old business. I'm going to talk about finalizing answers to technical question 3. These questions were noted on January 6th with a letter from the Jefferson County Commission. They were in the public packet for the County Commission several times. They've been in our public packet. We read through them at the last meeting and we discussed them. So they are open and ripe to discuss. On our last meeting in July, we read through every single question and every single answer. So That is something that is ripe under the Open Meetings Act to be decided today. Do I have any discussion on that? Okay. So let's read through them again. I pulled them up. We also went to hold a special meeting in July, but we were not able to get a quorum at that time to vote on them and do the preliminary. So we'll read through them from one. As we noted, this is question number 3 on agricultural large quantity user. The commission, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. We had a preliminary discussion on it. We read through them. We all agreed that this wasn't ripe to be voted on. So I'll read through them again. And let's say the commission is interested in promoting and supporting farming and agricultural activity by ensuring that farmers have adequate water resources. In reviewing or designing policy options, the commission wants to avoid creating new requirements that would be burdensome or otherwise harmful for farmers. I think this goes to our mission statement about protecting and preserving existing uses in our bylaws, existing uses for existing farmers and residents and those who are already in the county in advance and of new entrants to the county, new commercial development, new housing development. So let me read the questions and we'll run through the answers. Which agriculture practices in Jefferson County are the heaviest users of water? That's question 1. How much water do these heaviest agricultures use on a daily basis? What types of farming use the most amount of water in Jefferson County? Do state DEP monitoring or other programs distinguish agriculture uses from other uses among large quantity users? And Madam Secretary, I'm taking from your compilation. I will go through the answers. Is there any questions so far? Which agriculture practices in Jefferson County are the heaviest uses of water? And we answered practices that require irrigation use most, followed by livestock operations. We all agreed that that was an answer at our June meeting.
I have no request.
You have no request to revisit this answer? Okay.
Revision.
Okay. How much water do these heaviest agriculture users use on a daily basis? We noted that the uses vary seasonally and are highly variable. Irrigation can be as high as 80,000 gallons an acre a month. And then question number 4 is similar to question number, 3 is question number 1. What types of farming use the most amount of water in Jefferson County? Irrigation again uses the most, followed by livestock. Question number 4, I'll read it, is do state DEP monitoring or other programs distinguish agriculture users from other users among large quantity users? And I will note that this answer refers back to our answers in Roman numeral number 2. Very much we're looking on large quantity users. The answer is yes. In the definition of large quantity users from State Code Section 22-26-2 at 10, it calls out water bottling operations and farm use, each specifically to be treated differently for all other large quantity users. All facilities who bottle water for resale, regardless of quantity, are considered and to be treated as large quantity users. They must follow the requirements in the state code at 22-26-3c. The differentiation is here in the answer. No farm use is considered a large quantity user. Farm uses are excluded from being considered large quantity users regardless of the quantity used. Farms do not have to report water withdrawals. The state just is estimating those. And then we defined large quantity users in that code section at 22-26-2. Large quantity users, quote, end quotes, mean any person who withdraws over 300,000 gallons of water in any 30-day period from the state's waters, and any person who bottles water for resale, regardless of quantity withdrawn. quote, large quantity user, unquote, excludes farm use, include watering livestock or poultry on the farm. Though farms may voluntarily report withdrawals to assist with the accuracy of the survey. So that's the end of the question and answers. This was the question and answers that we reviewed and approved as preliminary on June. And so I will open it up for discussion and a pending vote to approve.
I'm just going to add that Than had given us a little summary. He made a chart.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and of all these productions, he listed hay production, pasture, beef, cattle, horse farms, corn, soybeans, wheat, orchards, vineyards, vegetable farms, nurseries, greenhouses, and poultry operations. The one thing common in all of these is that they just use rainwater.
I
the most part.
believe we included that in the answers to technical question 2 that we provided to the commission.
Very good. I just want.
But I
Make
would,
it
we could note C chart in
attachment.
question number 2 at that note.
Mhm.
Okay, with that amendment. That,
Yeah, that's part of the discussion.
yeah, we included that in the presentation to the county commission on 7/16 in our answers to technical question 2. So I think a reference to that.
Yeah.
In this answer, please see technical question 2 at, I can look it up. Yep.
Seeing no other comments, I make a motion that we approve the question responses as approved in the previous meeting with the addition of the note to reference the, what we call that, Margaret?
Than's chart for right now.
Than's chart.
Second.
Seconded by Travis Markley. Commissioner Keys and Elizabeth, we're going to vote on this. Are you all, any comment from you?
No comments, thank you.
Also no comment.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, so we are ready to move forward with the preliminary discussion, which I would call the first reading on technical question 4. I can open it up. We have asked for comments. I don't know that I think we've gotten some comments, but I think we can have an open discussion about it, about how we want to proceed. This is the first time
So
we've
may I
had
make a
it.
suggestion, since we
Yeah.
don't have anything in front of us to really discuss? If we have comments, it'd be great to have them. If we don't have comments, I think it behooves us to go out and jot our individual thoughts down. So can we table this conversation till the next meeting?
We can, I think Travis has submitted comments, but that would
Right,
be the
but we
only,
don't-
but they could be compiled and then,
We
yeah.
compile them.
so-
We have to have.
We'll have to have them in front of us.
to work with, too.
All right. Let me read those
This is
questions.
Definitely more into Travis's.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
It is.
We're leaning on you.
It's all right.
Let me read these questions so that they're in the public docket here. Although they were on the county commission meeting on Thursday. They were in the presentation we made on 7/15 before the county commission, so they're in the public wheel. The technical question 4 is environmental impacts of sewer sites. The commission is interested in learning more about environmental impacts of sewer sites owned by public utilities
We don't all.
and private companies in Jefferson County. There are 4 questions. How can Jefferson County residents learn more about environmental impacts of sewer infrastructure through publicly available information? What are the environmental impacts to sewer sites owned by public utilities in Jefferson County? And what are the environmental impacts of sewer sites owned by private companies? Other than the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, which state agencies play a role in regulating environmental impacts of sewer sites? Okay.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think we're gonna be leaning on Travis's responses here, but I just would prefer to have a copy in front of me
Sure.
to kind of go through and a little advance notice to go through it ahead of time, just to kind
Sure.
of read it. Especially since he put a lot of information in here. Thank you, Travis.
Yeah, thank you. I'm saying, I think
Well-
we are working towards efficiency and reviewing those, but thank you, Travis. I'll ask Secretary if she could individually circulate those and
Yes.
a note to everyone, do not reply.
Yep. So let me do this correctly here. I move to table discussion of 5.2 to the next meeting.
Do you have a, okay, is there a second or any discussion?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. Okay.
Almost failed for lack of a second.
I was unmuting.
Just for the record, we have a motion and a second. I am prepared to discuss generally if we want, but I am completely on board with the consensus. if
Yeah,
we
I just want a
table.
little time to look at it ahead of time.
Understood. Yep.
Commissioner Keys, did you have something to say?
Oh, no, I agree. I think that's a good suggestion by Mr. Hayes. So, I will support that motion.
I would say that County Commissioner would like us to stay on task for it there. So we'll press on. Our next meeting date.
We haven't voted.
I'm
We
sorry.
need to have to vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. If there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second.
Correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. All right. I have new business of Water Advisory Committee's landing page. And
We're
just,
still 5.3.
oh, I'm sorry. Final schedule for presentation, Jefferson County. As you may be aware, I received a note that the Jefferson County spent a number of items on their Thursday agenda on water. And I was asked to come and talk about the technical questions and the status of where we were. And I noted, this is public. So I'm recapping a public conversation in the public wheel that we had completed 38 of 42 questions or near completed. And that some of those were first readings, second readings, and that we went individually one at a time through the list.
Mhm.
And some of the questions were harder than others, so they're not all equal. And we were on track to finalize ahead of time. We also talked about so that was also the note, the schedule, and then final schedule for presentations Jefferson County. So let's talk about, we have a meeting in September where we would do
Preliminary for number 4.
preliminary for number 4, and we would finalize in October unless we were to have a special meeting. I will note, I'm probably going to be online in October, so I have someone else run the meeting, but I can call in. So the presentation would be,
That's October.
yeah, October
I'm the
21st.
one that has to-
I'm sorry?
I'm the one who's going to end up running it, so.
I'm letting you know.
Sure,
now. Let's see when the county commission meets in October 21st. We could do it as soon as the first meeting after October 21st, county commission
Do
meeting.
what?
Present the final.
Okay, let me make a different argument.
Sure.
And it'll push it back and we don't have to do this, but September preliminary, October final for technical question 4, November to wrap everything up.
Mhm.
And then the first meeting after that, November meeting.
Okay.
We need to just, because we're gonna have to have some presentation materials.
Right.
I'd like to at least pass it by the board to approve the presentation material.
Mhm.
And make sure everything's all tied up in a pretty little bow.
Mhm.
And if that's not too late in the calendar, but basically that encompasses all the work in 2027, 2026 anyway. And then it'll be under new business, but I'm gonna ask as a second request, then we're gonna have to request scope of work for 2027.
Correct.
Sounds good.
So that's my proposal. I haven't made a motion yet. Comments absolutely welcome.
Yeah, I will chime in. I think that having the initial discussion next month on Roman numeral 4 questions, we can answer those and then we can reconvene on the month of October to put that wrap on it and package it the way we want. And then potentially Thursday or November or December present.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the November meeting will basically be a cleanup, whether it's working with the presentation materials, making sure that the entire package is as a group agrees. Well, I picture this as the November meeting that we will come in here and we will vote on the presentation.
The actual presentation, yep.
Okay.
That's how I'm perceiving it. And then at the first meeting after our November meeting, and a little calendar jock in very well. First meeting we can get on the agenda, we can present to the county commission.
I'm gonna grab, I'm opening on my computer the, if I can find the schedule. Yep. So we can. Okay. Okay, so there's a meeting Thursday, November 19th. Let me see if that's the third or the
That's,
second meeting of the month. It's too many devices here. Sorry, let me just look at that real quickly. So our November meeting would be November 3rd, November 10th. Our November meeting would be the 18th, and then the presentation would be the 19th.
it'd have to be later than that.
Yeah, then would have to be December 3rd.
Yeah, you're getting bound up in the Thanksgiving.
Mm.
Mhm.
December 3rd makes more sense. And again,
And we'd have to be on the agenda by the November 12th,
yeah,
and we
that-
wouldn't have
That
met
gives
yet.
us a good clean break at end of year 2026.
Mhm.
And then whatever the task is for 2027.
Right. Okay, so let me just redefine the motion. The motion is at the September meeting, we will address the preliminary questions on technical question 4. The October meeting, we will work to finalize question 4. The November meeting, we will wrap up all the questions and do a final presentation to present to the county commission on December 3rd. That is the motion we have.
Yeah, and to explain why just for the record, everybody knows this, but to explain why there are 2 meetings or there are 2 opportunities at technical question 4, that's been the way we've done this, is we've gone through and presented some preliminary responses as a group here that may or may not be complete or compatible necessarily. And then that 4 weeks or that month after that allows for the committee here to really review these, what we plan to send out as comments, and then be prepared to vote for a final, similar to what we did tonight with technical question 3, because we had done the work previous meeting.
And I'll add to that, it gives the public a time to bring any additional information that they might see fit.
Public comment,
Yeah,
whatever, yeah.
From our preliminary answer to our final answer,
Correct.
they'll have the
Yep.
time frame to.
Mhm.
So that's just for the record.
Great. So motion?
Okay, I'll move the schedule. September meeting, we do technical question 4, preliminary responses. October meeting, technical question 4, final responses. November regular meeting, we will review and wrap up our final 1 through 4 responses and our presentation. And December, remember that date, December 8th?
3rd.
With the goal of getting on the county commission agenda on the December 3rd meeting. That's my motion.
I second.
Mhm.
Is there any further discussion on the phone?
No, thank you.
No.
All those in favor? Hearing none? All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. New business. Water Advisory Commission landing page. The county, from my understanding, has been working diligently to get a new website going. Every board is going to have an own landing page that's going to look similar. We will need to be, the protocol for posting is not before me, but there will be a protocol. It's just not anyone's going to throw anything up there. There will be approval process from here and also from the county commission. But I think it will help us to get our agendas and minutes on a place where we can post them, and also the technical, like Mark Kozar's presentation and Bob Denton's presentation and other.
So while those presentations are valuable, the single most important things we can do for it to get on there are the agenda and the meeting minutes. Because that's law.
To get, I'm sorry.
The agendas and the
Agendas.
meeting minutes on this site.
Yeah. I have posted all the agendas, I mean, all the sign minutes, we have, the county commission has, and they know what ones we want, but, and I've asked for a place to post them.
Yes.
I agree.
No,
Yeah.
there's not critical of you by any stretch.
Yeah.
It's just,
We have,
this has to get done.
yeah, it has to get done. And I think it's coming quickly. One thing about the landing page is I noted, at the meeting on, which is in the public record. And so I'm discussing a public discussion that before the county commission, a study that I suggested would be very valuable. It goes into the county commission study that they did in Analytics Incorporated in 2012. They did a desktop exercise, and they referenced a study that Mark Kozar did that that they've asked to put on Roger Goodwin's, and I will share it with you. It has a landing page that shows in 2007, 2006, a study that shows the recharge rates throughout the county. And it shows areas that have been traditionally stressed and areas that have much better recharge rate. The reason that came up was the other item that I've shared with you and noted, and Senator Rucker was there, is that the governor has come out with a responsible data center siting or development. He came out with a press release on 8/7, and there was a principle 4, and I've noted it, are about protecting water and also effluent. And there is a standard out there called water usage efficiency and citing data centers, looking at data centers that are using water efficiently per generation of what they're using, recycling, and then effluent. So one thing that I noted, and this goes to your question about the scope of work, is that these technical questions should be part of the Water Advisory Committee's ongoing review, say quarterly. Once they're up and running, their things change. There's an EPA biosolid guidance right now for farmers and effluent. That these are things that we should, and I'm not that we should, but I would ask the Jefferson County Water Advisory Committee to think about as a scope of work plan going forward to monitor federal, state, local, and ordinance regulations as it fits into the technical questions with a quarterly review. So, but I would put in your thinking caps, what other things you have for scope of work.
So relative to that, then, a motion doesn't have to happen for this, conversation. December meeting then becomes not a Christmas party or a
No.
holiday party,
No.
but a kind of a work session for 2027 goals and rough schedule month per month. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, it's going to sway, it's going to revise a little bit, but just kind of get a feel for the year so we're not a winging it committee.
I agree.
I'm also curious what the county commission might have in mind for us too,
Yeah,
as the scope,
right,
since
yeah.
they were the ones that prepared the technical questions. They might know where this direction's going afterwards, but,
And they might not, so we need to prepare
Right.
for both angles.
yep.
I mean, there was an education element that we had discussed earlier this year that we didn't really tap into, and it's a good idea. And, in a vacuum, if we have a vacuum, that would be something we can start to discuss is how to present materials out there
Mhm.
for public use
Mhm.
in ways that are understandable for the public, not for the experts.
Mhm.
When I spoke at the county commission on Thursday, I noted that, and Commissioner Keys noted this, I'm sorry, President Keys noted this when we were being appointed, that there should be an educational component. I said, this visual map of the stressed areas in the county and the county's areas that recharge is for the public to understand that if you're certainly know it, and certainly, and I mentioned this too, as a farmer on a well with livestock, when you hear that a farmer's well is going dry in one part of the county and another part of the county is not similarly situated, that visual of the recharge rates shows the patchwork of this county, and that's just an educational component so that the public can understand not everyone in the county is similarly situated, and there's areas that are very stressed and areas that enjoy better recharge.
I would see that almost, the agenda item for 2027 would be just start setting educational goals,
Mhm.
whether, and it's a double-handed thing. What do we want and how do we get it there?
Right.
Who do we reach out to? GIS department. Where in the new website does it go? Does it go on our broader page?
Mhm.
Or do we just link to it from a different county page? These are, the two different avenues of the question. Say, what are we looking to get out there? Are we looking to get out there pamphlets? Are we looking to just put web pages and web access out there? And there's a ton of different, and I'm sure you guys use some of the same ones I do. There's a ton of different mapping softwares out there that have various overlapping functions.
And great.
I was gonna say, I would even take that so far as to take our public parks, our county parks, and just show the lack of springs or where springs may have been, just as simple as a sign. There was
Yeah.
once a spring here, now there's not. So people, because not always do people think, what you see on the computer, what you may read is not in person, so to speak.
That's actually another very interesting educational component, not just what, we find, we just came back from the fair. So are
Mhm.
we as the Water Advisory Committee well, we don't have a budget, but in theory, if we had a budget, would we be preparing some pamphlets to give out at the fair?
Correct.
And then I think that's a great idea. Also, there's a budget.
Yeah, yeah.
If there's
Well,
a budget, do we want to put some signage up at strategic locations that say X happens here?
Right.
We had a booth at the fair about 4 or 5 years running before COVID. One of the things we did, and I will mention Senator Snyder, when I first came on the Jefferson County Commission, we had a grant from the Department of Health and Human Resources, and we had an Eagle Scout that produced 5 wayside signages
Okay.
throughout the county. You will see one at Town Run, and when we dedicated the one at Town Run, Senator Snyder dedicated it for us, which was a really nice, and at Morgan's Grove. And we had Jessica Gorman came up with, and she has full credit for it. We had a big sign in the county at the fair, and it said, "Know your watershed," and you got a sticker, and you were to put a pin where your watershed is. So you would learn that you were in Terrapin Neck or Evetts Run or Bullskin. And so people would learn their watershed with that. It was a great educational component. And then that we did also get a grant, and it's not up and running, but we do have a website, friendsofthebullskin.org, which would be a great, and I have some people who are maybe interested in getting that running. And the Bullskin, as you may know, does not have a TMDL. It's an impaired screen, but it does not have a total maximum daily load. So there are some watershed, or to get people involved anyway. It was a lot of fun. Back then we ran a little looser than what did I say? We did a lot of field trips. The public notices went on Facebook, or it was a different time.
Different.
Mhm.
So,
But we have done some educational component that was a lot of fun to do.
yeah, not getting way out on a limb here, because that certainly should be an agenda item.
Yeah, it should be an
Um,
agenda.
If we have the opportunity,
Mhm.
county commission would dictate what they want us to look
What
at.
they want us
But
to
if
do.
there's slack in that schedule over a 12-month period, this is definitely one of the things that would work.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion from the phone?
No, but just as a side note, we mentioned a little bit about Governor Morrissey's plans to have some information provided from a staff level for guardrails, and that's great, but that's kind of a moving target, if you will, because that is administrative guardrails. that could change and fluctuate with time. So it's a hard thing to understand where that will go at this point, but it is something I think I agree with you that we could bring up quarterly, because I do think that will evolve with time. So.
Are you referring to the press release on the responsible data?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be an administrative policy that he would have within the executive power in West Virginia, as opposed to codified change that would be enforced through the legislature. So that is a little bit of a different discretion, and it's I think the process is just starting now. So we'll see how the administrative process under the executive power works, and then also concurrently, I presume there could be legislative changes in the future potentially.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
We're just discussing here, so also on, is there any more on the landing page and educational component and okay. Wanted to recap the 7/15/26 USGS presentation. There were 150 slides in the transcript. That also is something we'd like to get into the public wheel. I think Mark I think we can pull the transcript and note on the transcript what slides refer to what, like if you're at 10 minutes, what slides he's on, and you can go through that. That is something I'm be happy to do, and also with Bob Denton's September.
Get your friend Claude to help you with that.
Claude.
AI.
I don't call him Claude. I don't know how you got that name. I'm totally lost on Claude. I missed that one. Want to note about the presentation in hydrogeological studies. As you may be aware, Mark Kozar has formulated at this time 2 or 3 presentations for funding at the county commission level. One was on wells that we presented as an AARP, as ARPA grant during COVID. And the county commission did not use that, but it was 90 streams and wells. And it was to talk about chemicals, legacy chemicals on wells throughout the county, just to get a source of from agriculture and long-term use and population. We did not get that funded. We also presented in early, is it 2025? It was the predictive groundwater flow model. It was that he has been discussing about as a county planning tool to understand water resources, and for county planners and for protection, preservation, and know where in the sustainment of water. And so county planners could see stressed areas and areas at recharge or flow rates. And the other thing is, we want to say the areas of influence. Similar to his presentation that talked about the areas of influence for the Leetown property, USGS Leetown, which was very much in detail, that they spent 4 years. That Leetown, what I'm recapping his conversation, gave them the model to model the whole county. How they did that, how they figured out the wells, the zones of influence, the fractures, what they needed to study to come up with a predictive model for the water availability at that area was done in Leetown. That would be the model that they want to base it on. He mentioned that he was working on getting an EPA grant for TMDLs and the Chesapeake Bay. I understand that they did get that grant. That means that would inform the and help reduce the resources required to do a predictive groundwater flow model. That has not been finalized. He is in the process of looking at an updated study for us, and it's not been finalized, but when it is, we'll bring it before the bring it for this committee and see. I know that the original one was $800,000 with a cost share by USGS of 20%, and it was county alone. And the county brought in the Division of Wastewater and Management to talk about funding there. There's interest of funding there versus having the county fund it because it's a heavy lift for the county. So we have a grant specialist, and certainly that's way down the road, but I just want to say it is still an option that he is something he wants to do. So does anyone have any update? That's a long-winded saying that it was a great presentation. Delegate Funkaj noted on his website it was the most comprehensive presentation he's seen on water resources. So
Yeah, well, yeah, I was gonna say, I had a couple notes from recapping from that myself. And I guess being a farmer, let me preface this back by one thing I learned this past week at the fair. The education is a very large component for Jefferson County. We offered a petting zoo. I was surprised at the number of kids that did not know what a calf was, a baby cow. I had people ask me what kind of horse it was, if it was a lamb or a goat. So to that, I'm going to say, do people know what a spring is? Do people know what a water rut is? Do people know what impervious surface is and how we're changing the topography of the land? So again, education is going to be a very, very strong component for us. Again, trying to figure out how to bring that around full circle to a jargon that people will understand. I came up with the analogy of a car versus a pickup. You know, many of us need to get to and fro. Do you get a car or do you get a pickup? Say 6 of us have a pickup. Your need for a pickup is different from my need from a pickup. Your need from water is different than my need from water. Where you get your water is different. We're in cars. It's all different. I also thought of how many housing developments in Jefferson County have the word spring in them? Do they understand why their housing development was named the way it was? Anyway, so to that, I will ask that, kind of going back to a model versus a comprehensive study. I mean, a model going forward can be plug and played. Is that what the intent is here?
A model is a way to simulate
Right, because
what occurs. Ideally, you calibrated it and you calibrated it and it's predictive. A study is just
the snapshot now.
correct.
So what I heard Dr. Kozar also say that he wanted to put this model together so that he could do the Shenandoah Valley. Is that not what you guys heard? I mean, so you could do other counties?
That is his upper goal because the basin actually goes to Virginia, Clark County, elements of Winter.
Ambitious goal.
Yeah, that's an ambitious goal, but
But to that, I mean, Jefferson County, in my mind, would not fit that model because we're karst.
we're drawing from a big aquifer, and the aquifer doesn't end at the county line.
I know it does not, but
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
Oh,
geographically,
because I see, yeah. right.
yeah, we're karst. So, you know, when you're making assumptions for models and building things, karst is a huge factor in that, and it may not necessarily apply to some of the other models. I guess what I'm just saying is do we really want a model or do we want the comprehensive, the snapshot? I guess is my question.
I don't think the model is a one size fit all. It's
Okay.
dependent on the area you're in.
I mean, you can make them as complex as you want. I mean, theoretically, you could, and very theoretically, you could take all those contingencies within the basin, the greater basin, and address it. Point of diminishing returns, how accurate do you want it to be versus good enough? Do you want
Right.
perfect should not be the enemy of the good.
Yeah, I mean, and there again, I guess, you know, what keeps ringing in my head was that he wanted this model for the Shenandoah Valley to plug and play other counties and other areas. And I just kind of kept going back that, you know, other areas are still more rural than we are. So rain, water, impervious surfaces, all those things are going to affect models differently than what they do in Jefferson County. For whatever it's worth. Like I said, that was my observation.
That would be a good question to ask him as well, but I can share the model predictive model he presented to the county commission in February of 2025. It's on there. I have the slides and it's part of the public meeting packet.
Okay, in 2025. Yeah, I'm happy to take a look and go back to,
Yeah.
like I said, it just left me with other questions. Again, when I think of, a model is like just, again, just like buying a truck. Your need for the reasons and factors on why you buy it and the reason factors of why I buy it are two different things. And I feel like our water study needs to be specific to us. And again, you made another good point that some areas, the recharge is faster. Some areas it is not. I mean, we have changed so much of the topography, the impervious surface that it all is a factor. So those were my couple comments from his presentation.
Great. Any comments?
I agree. I think, we had, I think when the initial data was taken in the 70s and 80s, maybe some in some late 80s, we had probably less than half of our population. So the impervious surface was very different. And so I think in the presentation, he showed large, water resources around, the city of Charlestown and our municipalities, but the development there has significantly changed. So it is, I agree with Margaret. I think that the predictive is harder to extrapolate with the data being changed so significantly since then. So
And I would even go so far as to say, of those 90 springs, or I think in one of the studies, there was 190 sites tested. How many of those springs are still in existence? I bet a lot of those are dried up.
Mhm.
I mean, from my personal experience on my 92-acre farm, as a kid, I would guess that I probably had well over a dozen natural springs. I have 0 today. My ponds don't even hold water. So just to give you an example of how much things have changed in the last 20 or 30 years.
Agree.
Yeah.
We need an updated study.
We need an
I
updated
think we
study,
need
yeah.
an updated study.
We do. I just want to make sure we're buying the right one.
We should buy the right one, or someone should buy the right one for us.
Yes.
Can I ask what the, my understanding of what the predictive ground flow study would be is that it would update all the data so that we have a point of where we are, and then we can predict based on future development or saying yes or no to future development, what our groundwater status would be. I thought that was the idea of the predictive model, was so that we could say, this is where we are right now. So we have a snapshot, but we also say, if we build a development here, we're going to mess up the water downstream. And again, this is for Harpers Ferry Waterworks, this is an area of high concern because, as I've said, like, we are so dependent on the groundwater or the surface water that has groundwater influence for feeding our water utility. So I just want to get an understanding, or maybe we need a clearer understanding of what this predictive model is, because I thought it was incorporating a snapshot as well as predictions for future development. Is that correct or incorrect?
So Elizabeth, this is Daniel. I don't necessarily have the answer to that, but unless the study has been scoped already, you can scope it for what the requested output would be, and then the complexity of the input and the complexity of of that. So that would all, I think this is a conversation we're going to have, and definitely county commission, because they got to pay for it, or somebody's got to pay for it. But that's a scope question and a scope that hasn't been developed yet. So your thoughts are definitely worthwhile carrying forward, but a predictive model can predict anything we want it to predict. And it can predict it as accurate as we want to, but the more complex the model, the more accurate the model, the more expensive the model.
Right.
And you're hitting a point of diminishing returns with the model somewhere.
Okay.
I will note that, thank you, Elizabeth, for those comments. I'll also note that this study, my understanding, would not be the earliest it could be undertaken is over a year away due to their current commitment.
So
So you have to plan for it now to get in the queue, though.
Let me add a thought for our December meeting as possible subjects to discuss.
Yeah.
And that's to begin to, if we have time, at least it's a possible subject to bring it, carry it to 2027, is to start beginning to discuss the scope of the predictive model. And as Jefferson County Foundation had said, they have an interest in what the scope of work of that is also, correct?
Mhm.
Would you agree with that? So that scope of work is a worthy conversation to have.
Yes.
So not a motion here, but just something we can add to the master list of things that we'll start to prioritize and plan out in December.
Great. Okay. Is there any other further discussion on 6.2? Let me just note our next meeting date. We are meeting, come on calendar,
September 16th.
September 16th at 3 PM. We'll ask you to get your comments in on technical question 4. And I'll ask Madam Secretary if she will circulate them, and we'll bring printed copies, but we'll circulate them ahead of time.
Yes, ma'am.
And once again, please remember not to reply to all on anything. It all goes through our Margaret Liskey, the portal of
One at a time.
one at a time. Okay.
I would also ask, just to follow up with the public comment that we had, can we add the questions to the agenda that have technical 4 questions?
working
So
on?
they can see that, and then
Ahead of
we'll have
time.
our suggested answers to those too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye.